So, I'm going to hand over to you in a second, but I understand that your daughter, Phoebe, is deaf.
Yes.
So, what I'd like to know is, when was it you first realized that Phoebe was deaf?
Okay, so Phoebe was diagnosed deaf when she was 3 weeks old.
3 weeks?
Yeah, so she failed her newborn hearing test, and then at 3 weeks old we were told that she had a severe to profound hearing loss.
Yeah, and so tell us a little bit more of the background. What has unfolded since in the years that have... How old is she now?
So she's 6 now.
She's 6 now.
She's doing very well. She goes to a mainstream primary school with a hearing resource base back over in Penkhull. So Phoebe had hearing aids when she was 11 weeks old, and then when she turned 3 years old, she was nearly 4, she had an operation to have cochlear implants, which is what she wears now. So if you've seen her around church, she has her implants on all of the time.
And what have been the main challenges that you have faced as a family over those intervening years? So
it was challenging right from day one, really. We spent a period of time grieving for what we thought we were going to have when we had our baby. Obviously, we've got Oliver, who's 12, who is neurotypical, has got no learning needs. So I thought I knew what was coming, and then all of a sudden that wasn't what was going to be happening. So we had a period of grief. I felt a bit like I lost my maternity leave because we spent it all in hospital appointments and in different places like that. We had a challenge with equipment. So Phoebe, growing up, like any toddler, wanted to throw her hearing aids to the furthest point that she could. And luckily, hearing aids whistle, so we could often hear them, and find them. But that was a challenge. And then moving on to cochlear implants, we were told that it's like having a mini car on each ear, the value of them. So the pressure that comes with that to not lose them or break them is pretty huge.
I'm sure.
The challenge of reactions from others, I wouldn't say that here in church. We never had a negative reaction in church, but as Phoebe's grown up, especially as a tiny baby with great big hearing aids on, a lot of people stare. People come back for another look. You wouldn't believe, but they do. So that was a challenge growing up, and we just grew broader shoulders and ignored. But that's difficult. And then also communication has been a challenge. So Phoebe has also been diagnosed with a specific language disorder, and so she does struggle to communicate. And
she uses sign language?
She does use sign language, but which we're learning. She does use it, but not so much in public. She tends to use it more at home, and I think that's about confidence. So just being aware, really, that the challenge was people knowing that just because you can see her hearing aids and implants, that's very visible, but her speech disorder isn't visible. Yes. And that's something that people don't necessarily see or appreciate that she's got.
Yes, I understand. So what has been helpful, say, here in church or elsewhere? What are the things that have really helped you along on your journey here?
Yeah, we were helped in church right from the minute Phoebe was born. So we went through a tough time when Phoebe was born, in that my nan passed away just 2 days beforehand. So Moira and Ashley were very involved with our family at that point, and in a way it couldn't have happened at a better time, because it meant that they were around for us to call on when we were struggling with everything that was going on with Phoebe, as well as all the preparations for funerals and things like that. We had a lot of support from church when Phoebe was going through surgery, lots of prayer, and that went really well. It was a massive decision. The surgery is irreversible and it does permanent damage. So had it not gone well, then things would have been a much different picture now. So that was really helpful. Sign language in church is amazing, and we really appreciate the lengths that you go to for that. Moira and Ashley arranged an introduction to sign language course when Phoebe was a baby, and the Sunday school, I know it's not called Sunday school, the Sunday school staff went along to that.
I still call it Sunday school.
Went along to that, so I knew that when Phoebe was ready to go into Sunday school, that people would have that awareness already. Dave and Rachel doing the signing is brilliant. Phoebe might not join in, but she watches everything. So, that's all the help.
That's all the help. And more. And what can we do as a church to help you further, do you think?
So not just Phoebe, but anybody with a hearing loss. Hearing loss is a big spectrum. So there could be people sitting in the congregation now who are wearing hearing aids who haven't had the same experience as we're having with Phoebe. So it's very individual. But I think generally, making sure that people speak clearly and try really hard not to cover your mouth. If you're comfortable not wearing a mask when you're speaking to Phoebe, then that helps. Masks were a big problem during COVID. Sure. So that was a real difficult time for her. Try not to do what I do and speak too quickly, especially when I'm nervous. So speaking, we have a saying, and we were told this by the teachers of the deaf, that she's deaf, not dumb. And you don't need to speak to her like she doesn't understand.
Yes.
You just need to make sure that you're being clear in your pronunciation. Light is an issue. So if you're standing in front of a bright window or a bright light, then that casts a shadow over your face. And that prevents lip reading skills.
Yes.
And so that's something that we don't have an issue with in here because this isn't too bright. And then as she gets older, group conversations are difficult for children with a hearing impairment. So if you imagine you've got 3 or 4 people and everybody's talking at once, and it's hard for her to keep up, and she's just coming into that stage now where she's trying to get involved with group conversations, and that's quite difficult. And I think the worst thing that can happen is when people just say, oh, I'll tell you later,
yes.
or it doesn't matter. And it does matter because that means she's not included. So that's something to be aware of as she gets older.
Great. Thank you for sharing that with us. Will you just give her a warm round of applause, please? You can stay. Stay or go? You have to stay.
Safety in numbers.
There was a reminder in that that many disabilities, of course, are visible, such as the hearing aids, but some are hidden. And I think we're probably going to hear something now of a more hidden disability.
Okay, so Liam, my son, is 17. I normally, when I stand up here, I normally say he's on sound, so if it's suddenly, if he's had enough of me, he'll just cut me off. But he's on camera today, so all manner of things might happen behind me, who knows. He's 17, and that in itself, I will list some things in a minute, but it occurred to me that he's 17, he's got a beard, he looks older than he is, he's tall, a lot taller than me.
That's a hollow victory, though, isn't it? Really?
Thanks.
My friend Penny.
Used to be.
Ex-friend Penny.
So the things that he has difficulties with, I think sometimes you would expect, he's viewed as an adult, so you would have expected those not to happen. That poses a whole host of new things. But the main things that he struggles with is communication, social interaction, imagination, trying to work out what's going to happen next in any given scenario, processing that information, coping generally, loud, sudden noises. He can be the most loudest person that I know, so, work that one out. Understanding, trusting, anxiety, and any change to routine or things that he might even perceive happening. He was diagnosed when he was 8. He's, like I said, he's now 17. We went through, likewise, a period of grief. And then I felt guilty because I went through a period of grief. Family life wasn't what we expected. I wanted that childhood that I had for him, and he wasn't. I either wasn't interested in that or couldn't cope with that, and it just wasn't right for him at all. He, not so much now, but when he was younger, the way that he would make himself understood and present himself because he didn't have the words to explain how he was feeling, behavior, language, communication comes out through behavior, and it really did. And most of the time, the physical side of it was aimed at me. And that in itself was really difficult because you get all manner of looks and helpful comments when you're out.
Helpful?
And so you stay in, and then you become a hermit, and then that itself brings its own things. You know,
Yes.
I'm not like that. I'm a people person. I need people. But we did what we had to do. And then to come out of that poses all those challenges all over again. He is much more able to cope with things now, and I think part of that is because of the way that we handle him now as well.
You've had to learn to modify your behaviour.
Yeah. Even from here, I can see lots of eye rolling going on. Yeah, and that's been really difficult, but it also helps. And I know that I've noticed that other people around us do the same thing. Now when he's doing sound checks, when he's on sound and he's doing sound checks for the band, I've noticed that particularly a few are very literal with their directions, so they won't just say down a bit or up a bit or take it all out, because if you say take all the sound out, all the sound will be taken out. You know, sometimes they're given percentages and you can see him standing there trying to remember what maths he was taught last year. And that's really, really helpful. Really, really helpful. And we had the chance to do ECG this year. Wow. So we went to Scarborough, which is a massive thing for him.
How did that go?
On the whole, it went absolutely brilliantly. Absolutely brilliantly. Liam never fails to amaze me on how he can cope, how he changes things, and how he deals with stuff.
Yes.
It just amazes me every single day. But that is one way that the church helped, because I've always wanted to do ECG, couldn't because I had Liam. And, you know, just being away from home for a week with some people that he didn't know. We had a great team. Some people were familiar, some not so much.
How did he get on with the noise? Because ECG, like ourselves, we're not known for quiet worship, are we? How does he get on with that? Especially as he's on the tech team.
Yeah, I think because he can control it, it limits the unexpected noise when you're the one in control.
Yeah.
And he knows now, there was an incident a few years ago when somebody was responsible for some massive feedback thing on stage, and the air was blue back there. Thankfully, it was before everybody had come, and we sort of laughed it off. Liam didn't speak to that person for a week, but well, he's okay now. And it's, you know, it's things like that. It's if you're in control of it. Actually, it's probably one of the best places for him to be up there.
Right, okay.
Because he's in control of the sound, and he's in that little bubble up there, and nobody can get to him. And that in itself helps.
I know he won't thank me for saying this, but I know that the tech team consider Liam an absolute asset to their team.
Well, the tech team is partly responsible, if not all, for me being able to be here for as long as I have. Because if you know, we're a team, Liam and I. So if you either have one or not, you know, and if Liam is not here, then you don't get me either, which means I don't get chance to worship. And Liam being able to be here most weeks means that I can be here as well. And it's a saving grace having the live stream, but it's not the same to be able to speak to people, and often I need that. And it's just brilliant. Liam is not the only one who gains from the understanding from this church. I do massively.
Just one last very quick question. Is there anything else that we can do as a church or individuals to help? It's the same question that I asked Hayley.
You know, I had a whole list of things and I've completely gone off topic. But I think, like I said, Liam being more involved means that I can be more involved, not just the church services, but some of the extra things that go on, and
Yes.
that already happens.
Yes.
I get support as well, and when Liam's there and I'm not doing anything, I get a break too.
Yes.
And that is just having a quick scan, but that is a massive help. But not, I think one of the big things, which mostly already goes on, but we're very good here at wanting to speak to people and wanting to acknowledge everybody, and that is brilliant. But you need to understand that you might not get anything back from
Yes.
Liam. He might glare at you, or he might look like he hasn't even noticed. But I notice. And if you walk away knowing that, almost give yourself a pat on the back. You know, you've tried and you're not expecting anything back. And that helps. That helps. And he's starting to talk to more people now than he did when he first came
has,
here in the last 4 or so years. And like I said before, trust is a big thing, and being able to trust more people. He has to trust you to speak to you, and getting to know more people. And I suppose if you keep trying, then that helps too. But I'm not going to get cross if you haven't gone over and said hello or waved or smiled, because there was a time when you really couldn't smile at him. That was not the best thing to do at all.
Great.
But yeah, I suppose just keep being aware, because in a church this size, we're not the only family who have these struggles. There are many more, many more. And you'll find when you're out that I diagnose people with autism all the time when I'm out shopping, which is probably not the best thing to do. but giving them a chance and giving them that space, I suppose.
Thank you. Will you give Penny a warm round of applause?